everybody. This is your host, Zack, with the MAGA Federalist Show. Just kidding. This is the Federalist Show. Mark can't be here today. Him and his wife, Heather, had their anniversary this week. So he is in Nashville and they are having their weekend together. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. As you have noticed, Frost and I are both wearing our MAGA hats.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi, Mark.
yeah,
Hi.
we're also doing this because Mark can't be with us today, and I know that it'll irk him on some level.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, sorry we've been away for a couple of weeks. We
it's
always
been
have
busy.
something. Yeah, we always have something going on, and it is
Yeah.
really difficult when you have a show of three guys,
Yeah.
trying to get together at the same time
Yep.
because someone always has something going on.
Yep.
Last weekend, I was recovering from a wisdom tooth surgery.
Yeah. We should talk about the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
You're missing something, Zach.
Yeah. So I shaved.
Yeah.
I
Shit.
I I
Such a
I had
sin.
shaved before my wisdom tooth surgery, mainly because I had heard so many people say, "Oh, you're gonna be bleeding a lot," and I just didn't wanna have to deal with a beard or whatever, so I shaved, and then the other day, I went and got a haircut, and I guess the way she cut my hair, my sideburns just looked weird, and so I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna cut them." But then there was like this gap, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and shave again, and I'll just start all over. And of course, my wife hates it. She thinks that I look 17 or
Yep.
18.
Yep. You do.
Yeah, and I turned 31 in a few weeks, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, we are mainly just going to be talking about some of the things that you know have been happening this week.
Yeah. Let's get started.
Uh, yeah, we're the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is the JFK files. So the JFK files came out this week, unredacted, and let's just say that a lot of people are jumping to conspiracies, blaming Israel for everything. My brother-in-law is one of those people. I've kind of been directed from my wife to just ignore him and not start anything in the family just because and honestly, I don't have the time or the energy to like do research for him. If he's going to go down the Ian Carroll, Candace Owens road and just get lost, I'm not going to pull him out. That's not my job.
Yep. Well, let's talk about what the JFK files are really about right now.
Yeah.
So the I've seen a couple of pictures that have been released. I am not sure. I haven't really looked through the files themselves because it's just not important to me. This is how many decades ago? It's just not important to me. Here's what I think the release of the JFK files. It is just a carrot. Okay, what do we really want released? What is it that we want? The Epstein files.
Oh yeah.
I do not care about anything else. They released some of the MLK files, and come to find out he was a womanizer. Oh, big surprise there. Okay, all right, so that was a little bit of news. JFK files, dude was shot. History's been made. He died. What closure? What closure do you really need? And there's going to be some of the MAGA guys out there, the old Republicans. Oh, we need to know the truth. Okay, yeah, we do need to know the truth. But what did we learn from the current? So it's just a distraction to give them time or make us forget about the Epstein files. That's
I
what the
agree.
JFK files.
The one take of the week that I thought was pretty accurate was Ben Shapiro's. He basically said, this really isn't important.
Yeah,
Like
it's not.
everyone that was responsible for JFK is no
Yeah,
longer alive,
yeah.
and so it really just isn't important.
Which,
And
which is the way the government typically works too, right? So like
exactly, yeah,
something bad happened, like 9/11, when Bush passes away. Well, I'm assuming by the time Bush is gone, Rudy Giuliani will be gone, and all the main characters of that storyline. And then they'll release the files and they go, we actually did it to ourselves. We trained those guys in Pensacola.
It
We
was
did
the
it to our
Jews.
we did it to ourselves, and it was the Jews.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at this point. It's history
Yeah,
is history.
and I mean, I basically had the opinion. I'm like, Ben Shapiro is correct, and it seems to be an unpopular one, but like, I think he's correct because I would rather hear about the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting
Yep.
or the Epstein list because a lot of
Which
those people are still alive and
we
still,
don't know. We still know nothing about the
yeah,
Pennsylvania shooter. We know nothing. Nothing. Not we know his name and
yeah,
where he went to high school and that he was on some commercial for BlackRock. That's it. That's all we know. That's
yeah,
it. I
it's
wild.
wild,
Yeah.
but yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just drawing a blank
Yeah,
because
we need answers is what we need. We need answers to a lot of things. We need them fast. I know that Pam Bondi has gotten a little bit of flack online the last few weeks about
she's kind of gotten on my nerves,
yeah
and it's because she does all these Fox interviews and she's on TV all the time, and then there was that whole binder mishap with all of the
the
influencers, and
public stunt. Yeah,
that was just a crap show, and
yeah,
it really made me upset because it's like you're not taking this seriously. Just
yeah,
we don't even need any. We don't need an Anna Paulina Luna or a Nancy Mace in charge of some
yeah.
stupid task force that wastes taxpayer dollars.
Yep, I agree.
Just release them online
And let us dig through them.
and let us dig through them.
Yep.
You
The
know,
media will dig through them. Civilians will dig through them. Non-media, we will dig through them.
yes.
I'm not going to waste my time with JFK files because I personally don't feel like the JFK files are really something that I really care to talk about.
It just had a bunch of stuff
Yeah,
between Israelis, KGB, all that. It
yeah,
doesn't actually put blame and say Israel is responsible
yeah.
for so and so.
Which,
Of course, if you listen to, Myron Gaines or all the other anti-Semites out there like Candace Owens,
yeah,
they'll be like, "Oh, I was correct. It was the Jews." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Where does it say that?"
Yeah. So think to yourself, what would happen today if somebody got assassinated on American soil? Who would get blamed? So, and I have a great example of this. So there's a I don't really watch them. I don't really pay attention to them. But that the crazy Alex Jones guy, one of his news reporters, was killed outside of his house, and
Yeah. Yeah.
apparently his name was on the Ukrainian hit list, and so he got hit because of that. So just to keep in mind, whoever the enemy is today is the enemy that's going to get blamed in 70 years.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it'll probably we'll never actually get the truth. But the Epstein files, we can, because there's so many names and so many important people that we think that are on that list that we will be able to put them in the circles, and we will be able to see who was in this big massive ring of chaos, and it's not gonna be in Russia or China or Ukraine or Europe or Africa or even South America. All of these people are in our country, helping run our country right now, or could potentially be helping run our country or lobbying our country. We need to know who these people are, and they need to go to jail ASAP.
Yep.
ASAP. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's some people online are giving Pam Bondi a lot of flack about, like, give her time, let her cook, let her do her thing. But Pam, hey, we need to hurry that up.
Well,
At least promise us that, tell us exactly how many files you have. Don't say a truckload, because that can be, is that literal, or is that is
it's annoying to me because we were promised this and there's just no transparency there.
yeah,
All I hear is, "Oh, it's coming. It's coming." It's like what do you have to go through?
yeah,
Like if you promised, all of these files and then now you're going back saying, "Oh, it's an issue of national security." Why? Why
yeah,
is it an issue of national
yeah,
security? Who's on that list? Why can you not
yeah,
release it?
yeah. Is Donald
The
Trump on that list?
The only thing I can think of, whether it be national security, is either he's on it or some foreign entity, whether it be the Mossad, which that one I'm willing to give, um, you know, some credit to because there's a lot of proof out there that he was a Mossad agent, or at least I think it was, oh, what was her name? Jazane Maxwell's
Yeah.
father. He was, I think with the Mossad. So that one I'm more open to listening about. But even then, you know, I forgot who it was the other day I was listening to, but they said, we don't know who's in charge of not necessarily the government. I think it was Andrew Schultz. He was on PDB and he was saying, you know, we don't know what our government does. Like, they very well could say, hey, we don't want to do this, and it potentially fall back on us. And then they just like subcontract out the job to another country.
Yeah.
And
We also don't want another scenario where it's the Hillary Clinton emails and they go, "Oh yeah, we have 30 something thousand of them," and they release 1,000 of them to you a week, and they're literally nothing but spam.
yeah,
You don't really ever get anything unless you really dig into every single email, and it just, I don't know, it just something needs to happen. Someone needs to whistleblow or something. These files need to come out, and it is national security, and the people deserve to know the truth. We deserve to know the truth.
yep.
And I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast with Elon Musk and a couple of other things that he said in a couple of other interviews, and he was like, the corruption is so deep, like, if everyone knew just exactly where all of our money was going, and we know a lot now. We've learned a lot in the last 70 days or so. But if we knew, we only know, say, I think he said something about we only know about 5% of the corruption. If everyone knew about all of the corruption within the government, it would be riots in the streets and just constant chaos. This country would just implode overnight. Was basically what I was understanding what he was trying to imply, that it was just going to be nuts. So the people deserve to know, and the corruption needs to stop. And enough is enough. So like the debt is already absolutely crazy. In my opinion, and I'm not saying that I'm going to incite something or I'm going to lead something or whatever. In my opinion, the only way that we're actually going to wipe our debt is to have a civil war, and the winner of that civil war is going to say, we are no longer the United States of America. We are the same people, but we are a different country, and that debt is wiped. We're not going to pay that debt back, and you guys can just pound sand and kick rocks, shove it. That's the only way, in my opinion, that debt gets paid.
Well, I don't see, because China owns a lot of our debt,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
would think
What's China
China.
going to do? China, they have more ships than us and more people
Well,
than us, but
who
I,
knows?
I will I will eat them for lunch myself, and I am not in any sort of shape of trained person anymore. Although I've recently learned, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm still a pretty good shot. So
I like to
imagine
hear it.
those that do train just south of me day in and day out, what they can do. If I think I can eat them for lunch, you know,
The I think the problem is I don't think the debt's ever going to get under control
no,
because we even if Donald Trump were to, you know, get the spending down and everything else, it would just go back up next time a
yep,
Democrat won.
yep, yep.
And
So,
so
so that is something that I have learned. My transition to Florida is that it seems like Republicans get uh, you know, a bad situation financially, they fix it, and then a Democrat takes over because the roads aren't fixed or something like that, and the city is going into chaos. Democrats get back, they spend all that money on roads and stuff, and then taxes have to go up because, well, anyway, that's just it's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. So I don't see it ever getting fixed, and it sucks because Elon said the other day that
Um,
the interest now just costs more than like our defense budget, and our
yeah,
defense budget is like 700, 800 billion dollars.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I don't see it ever getting fixed,
Yeah.
and I don't see spending getting
Nope.
cut. Even with the Doge savings, I mean, it's not really doing anything right now because we're still
Yeah.
spending. The
That's
continued resolutions
that's
are
that's why I say the only way that we have to hit the reset button somehow. We're gonna have to stop the spending. Look, this whole Donald Trump talking to Canada about and Greenland about being the 51st, second, third, fourth, whatever state. Okay, we're giving them a lot of money every year,
yeah.
and they aren't spending the money because we're spending money on defense. Their navy, the Canadian Navy, is in shambles.
Mhm.
I thought at one point that they did have a decent navy, and they have ideas, but if Canada was ever attacked, who would be the first to come to the defense?
Us, yeah.
Us. We would be there in a heartbeat for you.
Yeah. We're on
So
the border.
we can no longer afford to give you money. So you become us. We're no longer giving you money. Well, we are, but it's our own country now, and that I think I'm starting to see. The originally when Donald Trump was talking about this, I thought it was a total joke, but um, the more that I think about it and I think things through, it is like, yeah, maybe he has thought this through, and maybe this should be something that we do push with the Canadians. The Russians are going to do it. I'm starting to believe that if Donald Trump didn't get elected, the geopolitical area, things that are happening in Eastern Europe, I do think that Putin is potentially thinking about either making allies with countries that are next to him that are part of Russia, and just say, yeah, you can be your own country, but you're actually Russia, and we're just gonna, you're Russia, but you're not really Russia, so he can claim that territory as the old Russia again. So Donald Trump is kind of taking a play from Putin's playbook. It's like, maybe we should just do that. Also, think about this. If you have Mexico, Canada, and the United States all under one umbrella, there's no other group of countries, or like, we would literally run the world. Manufacturing in Mexico.
See, I would I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm more of an isolationist in a way. And I guess like an isolationist nationalist, I want Canada to do its own thing, Mexico to do its own thing, and leave us alone. Let us have our borders, and I don't want to take over any other countries. And I
But
don't,
in the spending, though, right?
yeah,
Totally in the spending. Yeah.
yeah, and so I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, we should just take Canada by force, or
No, no, no,
like,
no, no
no,
force, no force, no, no,
yeah.
no. They come willingly or they don't.
Yeah, like I want us to get our border under control so we can be a nation of borders, and I want us to return to, you know, federalism. And I know Mark would say that if he were here. I know um everybody here knows Mark is not Trump's biggest fan.
Yep.
It's kind of like why we troll him with these hats and every now and again. And it's the beautiful thing about this show because we all have different perspectives. Like I would say Mark is just 100% Federalist. I'm probably, more Federalist slash independent in a way that like I see certain sides to the situation. And I would say you are more Federalist, like far more right wing in the like Trump kind of way. Um But
But
I think
I'm not a populist by any means.
yeah, yeah, no. And so I think it's important that we just have these conversations with people, and it's another reason why um there's just so many different factions on the right, because if you look at the left, you have the far left, you have the I would say liberal left, and then you have the moderates who lean left.
Yeah. So centrist Democrats slash liberal, and
It,
then
it,
the socialists is what
yeah,
the
and
far left. Yeah.
but then if you look on the right, you have libertarians, you
Yep.
have federalists, you
Yep.
have the neocons, like the fiscal conservatives, the social liberals. Then you have the far right. There's like just so many different factions on the right, and again, we've talked about that. The huge, and there's even more just online. That I would say a huge one is the DeSantis
Yep.
Republicans. But
And some people, like the three of us, fall into multiple of those categories.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I recently, mainly just because I've been trying to grow on Twitter and just not be so wrapped up in like local politics of states that I'm not even living in and all this. I've left just about every single group chat um, I've been a part of, and the only one I'm in now is just one. Me and a few buddies just post memes and everything. And that's about the only one I'm in. And I've noticed that when you're not constantly talking about DeSantis or, Randy Fine, Byron Donalds, and you just kind of focus on making a meme about, the most relatable thing or what's currently happening, your engagement goes up, your um, just online presence grows. And I think that's going to be important coming up in the next few years.
Yeah. Especially as we look forward to 26 and 28. Yep.
Yeah, I would rather focus on things right now that I can control and educate people on. For example, let's go to the Andrew Tate lawsuits. So
Oh,
I've followed a lot of accounts lately that have been kind of in the crosshairs of Andrew Tate and a few others. Misfit Patriot is one. He actually got served with a defamation lawsuit the other day, as well as a few other accounts. And I think it's going to be interesting because you know Andrew Tate has said all of these things online, and there's videos of him, and he's going to have to prove defamation. And he's doing this in Florida of all places, so it's
yeah.
going to
It's
be
not
really
gonna fly.
hard. There's this account that I follow called Legal Bites, and I started following this woman like a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, when the Johnny Depp trial was kind of going on. And I watched the coverage of that at work because what am I going to do, work? But I'm going to read this post. She said, "I'm sure it's going to draw a lot of hate from some very passionate people, but the Tate brothers defamation lawsuit is such a stupid move. There are so many defenses to this suit, not to mention anti-slap that is available in the 15th Circuit, which is what, Florida falls under. Um, just as an example, most, if not all, of these statements are pretty solidly opinion statements and therefore protected from defamation
Yep.
liability. On top of that, the plaintiffs are public figures, so they need to prove actual malice, um, that the defendant knew that they were saying the or was false and was at least reckless about the falsity of the statement. That's a tall order given the criminal and civil investigations and litigation that seems to have preceded these statements. Then there's the damages element. How does one argue that these statements cause reputational harm that wasn't already there due to what was already going on in the Romanian legal system? Then, assuming this somehow survives a 12b6 motion to dismiss, there's discovery. The defendant is entitled to all information that is reasonably likely to lead to admissible evidence. This means information that will lead to any and all evidence that is relevant to the claims. Given that falsity of the statement is a necessary element for the plaintiff to win, the defendant is easily entitled to any and all evidence that would tend to prove or disprove the falsity of the statement that the Tate brothers victimized the people referenced in these various statements. And then she says, good luck.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, you have lots of hurdles to go through. Should you get through those hurdles, you're just going to hit a brick wall. So, all right.
Exactly. And
So we could do the same thing with these lawsuits that we did with the JFK files. What's the point of the lawsuit? Is it to actually get money from people that, like, let's be honest, who has 50 grand in their pocket to pay off a defamation lawsuit? Who has money for lawyers? Is it just to get people to shut up or just to not talk about them? But you're a public figure, so public figure. So
exactly.
if you're a public figure, people are going to talk about you. If you like, so what's the actual point? It's all. They know that they're not going to get anything from this. They know it's just theatrics. It's a distraction. It
Oh,
is
yeah.
not what it's not. What they want is everybody to be talking about these, as you mentioned, the Romania thing. They want everybody to be talking about these lawsuits in Florida, these defamation lawsuits that are just going to hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, instead of, oh, they're about to get charged in Romania and put under house arrest again for 20 years or whatever they do. What do they do in Romania? I feel like they stone them or something in the street.
Yeah.
Maybe that will be good for society. I can't. I don't. I am not a fan of this Andrew Tate and his brother, whatever his name is. I am not
Tristan.
a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Like, first off, Republican, the conservative Republican, is we are Christian first and foremost. Okay, like our rights given that are provided by our government are provided by God Himself. Not we're like the whole Muslim thing just won't. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, it doesn't. No.
Yeah. So I kind of got a very viral post.
Oh, you did. You did.
Yeah, no, I had posted this woman Jedediah Bilas or whatever. I had never heard of her. Apparently, she's some commentator on the right. I would question her conservativeness, given her support for Andrew Tate. And but
Yeah.
anyways, she
Hard to
was
call yourself a
yeah,
conservative if you
yeah,
support taints.
she was gaslighting everybody, basically saying, "Oh, this is why you hate Andrew Tate." And I was like, "No, I hate Andrew Tate because he raped a underage girl and sex traffics women's. Stop gaslighting me, you moron." And it got 9.5 million impressions from it. That probably the most I've ever gotten on a post. And it's just one of those things. Conservatives have to come together on issues like this
Yep.
because if you're embracing this culture or certain people because they say things that you like and they've got a large following, what does that say about us? It says we're sellouts and we have no morals,
Yep.
and it's just very important
Yep.
that we stick to those morals so that our kids and the future look bright.
Yep. I have a very very good feeling that Mark would probably agree with us and have a whole lot more to say about these two. But I think we're all on the same page with the Taint brothers. They're not the Tate brothers. They're the Taint brothers.
Yeah. So I would say, um, I think the one topic that we're talking about, which we're about to get into, Mark would have a very good opinion on, and I would like to hear his opinion on it. But we'll ask him at a later date, and that is Trump dismantling the Department of Education. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Department of Education was passed by Congress in 1979 and signed into existence by Jimmy Carter.
Okay, hold on, right there. So, is the whole story that Jimmy Carter signed an executive order and then Congress then passed? No, he never signed. Never signed an executive order. Are we sure
Well,
about that?
let's find out.
So I think there's a lot of confusion about like exactly how the dismantling of the DOE is actually supposed to take place. So I agree, and I think I'm going to speak for Mark on this one. I agree. I think that Congress did in fact pass a law. We do know that to be true. Okay, so Congress did pass a law. So Congress is the one responsible. Congress is the entity responsible for dismantling it. However, the president does have power to, kind of move the scale
Yeah,
up and down.
and that's what I
So,
was going to get to.
so Trump could definitely scale it up or scale it down, and he could scale it down to basically nothing. He could
Skeleton
just,
crew.
he could basically just have the head and 5 people that all the states report to report to the federal government, but they don't tell anybody what to do, and they have no say so in anything. He can scale it all the way down to nothing.
Yeah.
But okay,
This came up. It says while executive orders can influence departmental operations or priorities, as seen with President Trump's March 2025 order to begin dismantling the Department of Education, the
yeah.
creation of a cabinet level agency like the Department of Education requires congressional approval due to its scope, budget, and structural implications
So
within the federal
so
government.
totally irrelevant, even if Jimmy Carter did sign an executive order to boot it up.
Which
Totally
he
irrelevant.
didn't.
He didn't. Okay, so we know that we know for a fact he didn't. All right,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's the case. I don't know where this like it's like people don't actually know how our government works and in what its purpose. Okay, the president does have a lot of power. He
Hmm.
does. He's got very far-reaching. He is a king, but not a king. He's a president. He can reach his hand into anything. Okay, but it's how far can he go once he reaches his hand into something will be defined by law and Congress. So people don't really know. Executive orders are nothing. They really aren't. They really are. We saw this with COVID when they
Oh
mandated the
yeah.
vaccine. Okay, a executive order. Well, first and foremost, the president only has authority over the federal government. He has
Hmm.
no authority over civilian entities. Okay, only the federal. Doesn't even really have any power over the states. He can call up Ron DeSantis and be like, bro.
Yeah.
Put Laura Trump over there,
It-
bro. He can do that. Okay, but he can't. He's not the governor of Florida. He can't take over the governor of Florida's power.
yeah. Well, and the thing that sucked with COVID is, I mean, there's a lot of people like myself who are federal contractors, and
Yeah.
so we
So
had to
contractor
adhere.
though, are you a federal? Are you paid directly from the federal government, or
Well, we're paid through, I'm paid through my employer, but we have
right?
contracts with the federal government, and those are the charge lines that we have to charge to.
So
So
so he doesn't have power. He does not have power. Those contracts have been signed. There is nothing that executive order was nothing more than a suggestion
and
for
see
federal
if
contractors. Now, could there be consequences? Say you're missile defense or shipbuilding or something
Mhm.
like that for the military. A government contractor says no, we're not going to abide by that executive order, and rightfully so. They don't have to. They can't lose the contracts that they currently have, but they can be cut off from all future contracts. And if
yeah.
anything has to be re-signed or anything like that, they can get cut off. That
Yeah,
is that is
see, the problem is, at the time I worked for Boeing, and Boeing is anything but conservative.
yeah.
And so they basically said, "Hey, get the vaccine or find another job. And it's
Yeah.
very difficult to get religious exemption. And of course, at that time, I had been in my house like maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
I was single. I had student loan debt. I
Yep.
had, all of
And
this,
you were trapped. You didn't
all
have
of
a
these
choice
bills.
but to
I,
take it.
I
Yep.
was trapped,
Yep.
and there were hiring freezes in place. So it's
Yep.
like I couldn't go find another job.
Yep. Yeah.
And
So here's another thing. So if the government mandates you to take a vaccine or whatever, and you don't do it, okay, and your company fires you, when the company gets sued because they just fired a huge whatever because they rejected religious rights or whatever workers' rights or whatever right that they are getting sued over, does the company pay that or does the federal government pay that?
see, I have no idea, but
The
I mean,
company. The company
yeah,
pays that. The federal government is not going to back up any company at all.
but
The
you
companies
see,
pay that,
and at the end of the day,
which
I
is
just you're
bull.
yeah, but at the end of the day, for everyday Americans, you're trapped
Yep.
because
Yep.
you
But
can't
that's
just
because,
keep putting stuff on credit cards. You definitely can't put your mortgage on a credit
and
card.
that is because people do not understand the law.
Mhm.
Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. An executive order is nothing more than a statement. It is a want. It is the president saying that an executive order is nothing more than the president saying, "Congress, do your job. This is what I want."
Yeah.
That is basically what the so you take that executive order for the vaccine mandate, you start writing it into all contracts moving forward. Your workers up to this point have to be whatever or fine. So all the companies took all of the risk both ways. So the shipbuilder that I worked for when COVID hit mandated the vaccine, and they there was a massive lawsuit against them, and rightfully so, and they lost. I told them specifically in my interview, you change jobs or whatever, and you have an interview on the way out the door, and I told them specifically, I was like, anybody over there in that legal team, you need to fire them immediately.
Yep.
You need to fire them. I am not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, and I am well aware of how the government works and how the law works more than they do. I told them, and I told them it was going to happen, and they denied my religious exemption. I ended up getting the Johnson and Johnson vaccine at the very last second. But if they would have fired me, I would have joined in on that lawsuit. I should have anyway. I should have joined in on the lawsuit, but I didn't. It just wasn't. I just it is just a that whole situation. Now, the company that I work for today did not mandate the vaccine, and as far as I can see, they're doing fantastic. They're doing
Oh yeah.
great. They're doing great. And I'm not saying my old employer isn't doing great, but they didn't have to pay out, millions and millions of dollars in a lawsuit or under the table pay people to drop the lawsuit or whatever happened. I'm not
Yeah.
I wasn't part of the
So
lawsuit, so I don't know.
my current company, obviously I'm not going to dox myself and say my current company, but I was talking to someone the other day who was there during COVID, and he said, you know, he was disappointed in our company because while they didn't put a mandate in effect, they didn't fight it
Yeah.
either.
Right.
And so they were just kind of silent on it. Um, and I feel like a lot of companies did that because they didn't want to piss off one side of their workforce,
Yeah.
and so they just took a neutral approach and hoped that some other company would speak up. And but
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
government contractors. We have a lot of uh, I would say we're a smaller company, but we're growing, and so a lot of that has to do with contracts, and you don't want to piss the federal government off, and so I get it from a standpoint like that. But to this day, I wish I had fought harder to get a religious exemption because
Yeah.
um, I remember very vividly during COVID because remember when we went to Mississippi for your bachelor party?
I do.
And I had recently gotten the vaccine I think like days before we went on that trip. And I remember it because my taste was finally starting to return. Or no, I got the vaccine like a week or so after your trip. And I remember it because you had won all that money at like Texas Hold'em or something, and we all went to a steakhouse to
Yeah, I bought
celebrate.
everybody steaks as promised.
Yeah, and it was good. My taste was finally
Great night.
returning from COVID, and then all of a sudden I get the vaccine, and my taste just changes forever. To
Yeah,
this day, I can't have chocolate, I can't have coffee, can't have peanut butter. Like all of the really, rich tasting things just taste terrible to me. It's not like I can't taste them. I can
yeah,
taste something, but it just tastes and smells horrible.
yep.
And
Coke tastes like chemicals to me now too.
yeah,
After having COVID 4 times.
Coke tastes terrible to me now, and so does Pepsi. The only soda I can drink now that tastes decent to me and normal is Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Dr. Pepper and root beer. By the way, if Bart's root beer just so happens to be watching this, uh, I'm a huge fan. That's just hit my DMs.
But I literally the only soda I will ever drink is a Dr. Pepper because anything else just tastes terrible.
Yeah.
And so,
Does it taste chemically to you, or does it just taste bland?
yeah,
Or yeah, it tastes
yeah, it
chemically.
kind
Yeah,
of has like a chemical taste to it. It's the strangest thing. And Coke used to be my favorite. Like I used to, drink vanilla Coke religiously. And now, I mean, it's obviously helped slim me down. And it's just I wish I had never gotten the Fauci ouchie.
yeah, yeah.
But
Thankfully, I did a lot of research on since we're just rambling on about vaccines and COVID. I did a lot of research on the mRNA or whatever it was, vaccines and the research, and I think I still think that research is fantastic for at least future, future medical discoveries. But I was not at the time not willing to put that into my body. I When I was in the military, they did enough with it was the H1N1 back then, or H1N9
H1N1,
or
yeah.
whatever it was when I was in the military, and they, you must take this or whatever, and like I had some, they made us take like, we had a regular shot, and then we did like two nasal whatever thing. It was so bad, and then I had like a lung bleeding issue, and it was just coughing up nasty stuff and they told me to, I guess that's standard for all vaccines, but I don't take the flu shot, so they were like, don't don't go near any babies for the next 3 weeks. I was like, what is that all about? What do you mean, don't go near babies? Well, you're going home. Don't go near babies.
Yeah.
This is nuts, man. So I just don't. The last couple of weeks since I've moved to Florida, we've been focusing on more homemade things. So like my wife has gotten into sourdough. So I had sourdough bagels, and those are delicious.
Yeah, no,
Delicious.
that's literally, the only bread that we use now.
Yeah.
Granted, I go to the store and I'll get, like, the sourdough bread, or I'll go to Publix and get
Yeah.
their sourdough loaf and just cut it into slices.
Yeah.
But, yeah, my cousin and his wife, they
Yeah.
do sourdough, and they make their own. I
Yeah.
feel like sourdough bread is just kinda like, uh
Like better for you?
well, I know it's better, but, I heard this analogy the other day. It's like veganism for Republicans or whatever.
Yes. So okay. So this is what I know about sourdough. Sourdough is like the way that the yeast eats the flour or whatever. It's like you don't have to worry about, like, if you're a gluten intolerant person or whatever. Sourdough is better for you because it has
Yeah,
a
yeah,
low
it was like,
gluten whatever.
sourdough is just gluten-free, but for
Yeah.
Republicans.
I wouldn't say it's gluten free. I'd say it's low gluten.
Yeah.
Low gluten. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the yeast like partially digests it for you or whatever, so it's easier on your stomach. I don't know. Anyway, so it just seems more natural. We've tried to remove a lot of dyes. We stopped drinking sodas. I think ice cream is the last thing that we have to get rid of. So I pretty much just drink water and coffee. That's pretty much it. Which we
It's
make here. I don't buy coffee anywhere else.
yes. Speaking of ice cream, I recently got into Halo Top, um, and it's mainly because Halo Top. I got into I think it was the sea salt caramel, or just sea
Ooh,
salt, but it's 300 calories for a pint,
whoa,
and it has 30 grams of protein.
whoa.
Phenomenal. And I only had it because, when I was recovering from my wisdom tooth surgery, the only thing I had was ice cream and some like mac and cheese.
Yeah,
And that's what I
mashed
survived
potatoes.
off
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like a week. And so literally like, before my wife and I would go to sleep, we would like sit in bed, watch TV, and we'd have our ice cream. But yeah, Halo Top is a phenomenal ice cream
yeah.
brand.
My current favorite one is the ooey gooey one from, was it Bluebell?
As long as you don't
Yeah.
say Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Ben and
Yeah.
Jerry's thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate buying Bluebell too, but yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to give Disney any money, but my wife likes to go to Disney World, so we're going to Disney World. Like you can't.
Speaking of Disney, did
Yeah.
you hear about the Snow White movie just is
Oh,
bombing?
oh my goodness. I think we're finally coming to Jesus as a country
Yeah.
and as a society. I think we're finally coming to Jesus, and I think Disney's go. I don't understand how Disney can't learn from this. I don't. Disney has to understand that you need to cast like that. That's the one thing that I like about Netflix is Netflix really does cast characters exceptionally well. Exceptionally. Like they will take a perfectly cast character and give them acting lessons or something to make sure.
Well, to an extent, they have in the past, made certain characters. I forgot what show it was, but they made like Prince or King Henry or King Louis or something. They made him a gay disabled person, and
Uh,
I thought that was stupid. But yeah, so far the new
are we
Snow
we looking up
White.
stats on the Snow White?
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I looked it up this morning and I was seeing if it had changed any. But when I go to look up a movie, I go to IMDb and I look
yeah,
at the rating,
yeah,
and anything over a 6, I will watch because that tells me okay, the story's decent enough. Anything under a 6, I'm like, this is going to be a crappy movie.
yeah.
And so I follow IMDb ratings like I do Rotten Tomatoes. And so right now, the IMDb rating, and this is the average for 20,000 people so far, 2.4 out of 10.
Ooh, that hurts. So let me tell you while you're looking up. Let me ask.
And it has a 50% Metascore. Now, the Metascore is like, it's not just right leaning people. This is like people that, Disney or whomever has paid to review the movie, and it's still getting terrible reviews. It's just
That's
wild.
that's wild. Yeah, so I hope now I hope Disney starts to really understand. Let me tell you about this actress that I've learned. So I first learned about her in what was it? The Hunger Games movie. Was it like the prequel or whatever? Uh, I can't remember which Hunger Games she was in.
Yeah, yeah,
She has a
she was in the
beautiful
prequel.
voice. Yeah, she has a beautiful voice. She can sing like nothing else. So I learned that's when I originally learned about her, and recently she posted somewhere, probably Facebook, which I don't ever go to. Somebody sent it to me, or it finally leaked over to Twitter, and
About Palestine.
yeah, about like Palestine and Trump supporters and I think she has since she posted this thing deleted it and then apologized, but that's you know
Well,
whatever, but
I don't think she did. I think she doubled down on it, and Disney has not been campaigning or doing a lot of stuff. I want to say I think they canceled the red carpet. They released this
Ooh.
movie because they had spent so much money on it already, because they had to do a bunch of reshoots because of the Seven Dwarves situation. So if you're not familiar with that, it was originally Snow White and the seven forest creatures or mythical creatures, and it was just like seven guys you would find at a Trader Joe's.
Oh.
And so they got a lot of blowback from people because they were like, this is literally Disney's first movie ever, was Snow White in like 1937.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is the movie you don't screw up. And so they had to reshoot. So then they were going to go with dwarves, like in the actual story. Um, but then Peter Dinklage came out and said, you really shouldn't hire dwarves for this. And he was just saying a lot of woke stuff.
No, you
And
should. You
yeah,
should you
yeah.
should
And
hire only acting dwarfs.
exactly.
That would
But
be the most DEI and fair thing to do, right?
exactly. And so
Like Peter Dinklage,
a
who is an
lot
awesome actor.
of a lot of dwarves got mad at Peter Dinklage because they were basically saying, you're literally like, you've had your shot in Game of Thrones. You're basically telling them to not hire us because you're offended by it. And it's like, no, let us work, let us have
Yeah.
these jobs.
Yes.
And so I think they ended up getting just regular people and using CGI to just make them look, so like the dwarves in this
Oh
movie, I'm
no.
pretty sure are like heavily CGI.
Oh no.
Um but yeah, so the actual movie is about, here, let me pull it up because I saw this the other day, and I couldn't believe that it was the actual um plot to the movie. Let's see.
Yeah, that's wild that they Peter Dinklage, like he's awesome in Game of Thrones. I'm surprised that like if there's ever a dwarf role, the first person I'm ever going to think of is Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
So like he would be an insta hire, and if not in the movie, he should be like the coach for these, dwarves that are going to be actually in the movie, like the supervisor. Or I don't know. I don't know how movies are made. I'm not going to act like I do know how movies are made, but like he's not the quarterback, but or he's not the head coach, but he's a lineback coach sort of thing for the.
Yeah. Well, and so he got a lot of crap from that because literally the only two actors I know that are like dwarves are Peter Dinklage and Warwick Davis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, Peter Dinklage typically takes a lot of the main roles, whereas Warwick Davis, he takes a lot of, he's in the movie, but he's not a main character. I think the
Yeah.
only movie I've seen him in where he's like a main character is Willow. Um, but yeah, so in the new Disney Snow White, there is no prince. Instead, Snow White falls in love with a dirtbag thief who urges her to lead a people's rebellion against the white fascist queen. And it's funny because Gal Gadot is far more attractive and just far more beautiful than Rachel Zegler. And Rachel Zegler isn't white. And I think Snow White needs to be played by not even just a white person, but a like almost like a pale white person,
Yeah.
because that's how it is in the story.
Yeah. Imagine if we cast Mulan as a white person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gal Gadot, she's what, Israeli, so she's Middle Eastern.
Yeah, she's
She's technically
Israeli
not white.
because she was in the IDF.
Yeah, she was. She has IDF. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think I do remember.
Yeah, and so that's another clash that happened because you know Rachel Zegler came out and said that, and then her co-star, who's Jewish, basically said, "Why are you saying free Palestine? I'm literally Jewish," and it caused a huge thing. And so all the drama that's happened because of this, I'm I think they canceled the red carpet and they just released it, and right now it's doing terrible. And this is the second time recently where I've heard terrible reviews from a Disney movie that they've just kind of
Yeah.
butchered, the press tour, and they just release it. I think the other one was the new Captain America movie. Um, Let me look up that rating. But I have a coworker that he just likes to be entertained. He doesn't really go in thinking, you know, it's political or whatever. But he said in that movie he felt like it was
Yeah.
politicized.
Yes, it was. It
And
was. I
uh,
watched the movie myself.
yeah, again, 5.9 out of 10.
Yep.
I probably won't see it until it's released on Disney Plus or something.
Yeah, that's sad. It wasn't, and it wasn't a bad movie either. It wasn't a bad movie, but there was definitely
Well, yeah,
moments
he
that
he
yeah,
said he said it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
yeah,
He said he felt like there was a lot that he was missing, and I'm
yeah,
like, "Well, you probably had to watch the Falcon versus Winter Soldier,
yeah, yeah,
TV show as, like, a prequel to
yeah.
seeing that."
If you just went in and watched that, you would be like WTF.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would definitely have to watch all the Captain Americas and understand the transition and all that stuff. So, all right. So my big thing is, we come to a company with a problem, and we say, hey, fix this. We should also offer a solution.
Mhm.
So I would tell Disney, was like, look, there most Americans grew up watching Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, whatever, well, Looney Tunes, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, and stuff like that. But Disney is a big part of growing up in America.
Oh, yeah.
And I would assume that in a lot of places like Paris, or France as a whole, Disney plays a very large part of growing up. Okay, and I understand that America is a diverse. I get it. I get it's a diverse whatever. Don't recreate movies and change people's genders and races and things like that. White people and black people and Asian people, all the other cultures and races, they deserve some respect. Okay? So if it is Snow White and she's a white lady, she stays a white lady. You can come up with a different story and make a different movie that has nothing to do with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and you can cast that person as a black, Asian,
Y
white,
Yeah, or
Russian.
just not have it be Disney. Like, if you wanna make a woke version, go to another get another company to make this movie. It doesn't have to be under Disney because
No,
you're
they want to make the money, but they're not
well,
making money. That with making, I'm sure they've lost
like
money on
like
that.
for example, so, um, the original Winnie the Pooh, then you have Tarzan, you have Snow White. A lot of these characters are no longer owned by Disney, so,
Hmm.
like, the patent ran out and, they have it like, for example, Winnie the Pooh, they came out with, like, a Winnie the Pooh horror movie, 2 years ago or something. I never saw it, but they were able to do that because it literally ran out. And, so it entered, like, the domain in 2024, and so people could make a movie if they wanted to. The Daily Wire was gonna make a version of Snow White. I don't think that'll happen now since Brett Cooper is no longer there,
Yeah, she would have been
and
a perfect cast for that.
well, no, because they made the trailer for it, and she was gonna be in it, but I just think it was one of those where they released a trailer and they did filming. I don't know if it ever got finished, but I think that movie is canceled now. Um, and of course, Jeremy Boring, he just stepped down as the CEO so that he could do other projects within Daily Wire. Um, but we're not going to get into that. There's a lot of stuff that's unverified and we don't know for certain. But yeah, I didn't expect us to have this long of an episode just
Yep.
talking about stuff.
Let's keep going. Let's go to the
Yeah,
next.
let's talk real quick. We're gonna talk about the Tesla boycotts
Yeah,
next.
boycotts.
I
Yeah.
don't have too many thoughts on this, other than you know these people obviously need to go to jail. They need to be made an example of, because I'm getting really tired of seeing leftists that I know post, oh, well, y'all can boycott Bud Light and, all of this other and
Yep.
Target and all this.
Yeah, but we don't burn shit down. We just
Yeah, well,
bankrupt
exactly, and
companies.
I always send them the picture. I show them the picture of all the Bud Light not being bought at Target versus a burning car, and I said, "Which one is terrorism and which one is a boycott?"
Yeah.
Like, a boycott is just not buying the product.
Yeah.
If you wanna participate in the boycott by selling your Tesla and getting a different car like, you know, Senator Mark Kelly did, then
What an
do
idiot.
that. But at the
What
same
an idiot.
time, don't say you care about the environment when you're gonna trade in your
Yep.
Tesla for a
Yep.
Tahoe.
Yep. So
Like,
I have that's my I have 2 points here. I have 2 points, and that is one of my major points. So why would you I you can't you if a company has a liberal, this is why I don't buy into all this. Oh, it's green and whatever climate change. I can't. It's just, you're dumb. You're a flat earther. Leave me alone. It's crap. It just, oh, it just irks me. You can't be for green energy and then boycott the only green energy company in the United States. What other company builds electric or like, okay, sure, okay, all right. Toyota, we do build Toyota EVs here. We do build Ford EVs. There's Chevy EVs. All right,
but
there's EVs.
we build them here, but it's not an actual American
Right.
company.
But that's what Tesla does is EVs. They don't
Mhm.
do anything else. They don't have a
Yeah.
combustion engine car as far as I'm aware. It is nothing but a fully electric cars. Okay, so you can't you can't like get your followers to buy into this climate change whatever thing, and then as soon as the CEO of that company says one bad thing about whoever or whatever you're doing this, you can't just go burn it down. It just doesn't work that way. You disagree with them and call them stupid, and
Yep.
you continue with your day. You don't ruin your life by burning whatever. Okay, my second point here. Let me get to my second point. My second point is if you go and buy a Tesla just so you can crush it with a crane,
They've
or
already made the money.
they've already made the money. They just you just gave them you idiot. You idiot. You just gave them money. What you're not making any point. You just gave them a say like yeah, like this is the left we're dealing with. They do not think logically. Okay, let me add to that point. Okay, let me add to that point. If you go to a car lot, a Tesla car lot, okay, a dealership, and you burn down the whole dealership, Tesla has already made their money.
Yep.
Dealerships are not owned by the makers of the cars. This is how this works, people, because clearly, if you don't know how the federal government works, you definitely don't know how this works. So Zach and I gather some money up and we make a business. It's called a car dealership of the Bearded Federalist Show. Okay. Then we go to Honda and Toyota and Tesla and we buy cars from them, from the manufacturer. We bring them to the dealership. Then you come and buy from us. That's how that works. Okay. All right. So if you go and burn down, if you go down, burn down a dealership, Tesla has already made their money. Insurance is going to pay for those Teslas, and then more Teslas are going to get bought to replace them. So you basically doubled the amount of money that they just made. And then when Elon does go back left and you go, oh, Elon's good again, and you go buy a Tesla, your insurance premiums are going to be higher. You're going to pay more for the car. You're stupid.
Yeah.
You are stupid. All and you well, you're probably not going to have the money to buy a Tesla anyway because you're going to be in jail. So totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. These boycotts are just absolutely what a joke. The left is stupid. They have oh, they're never going to win another election in their life. There is I think we're going to see Republicans. They keep doing this stupid crap.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But
Uh,
my thing is, I personally would never own a Tesla. I mean, if I were rich, I would have one as like a car that I would drive around town.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, cause I've always wanted that. My wife has a Highlander and I have a Tacoma, and so I would mind not having to fill up with gas and just plug something in, drive it, around town and just have it for that, but I would
Yeah.
never have one as a main vehicle because for one, the country and the world is still dependent on oil, and then
Yep. And
on
we
top
always will be.
yeah, yeah, on top of that, you know, cold weather,
Yep.
um, happens. If you travel, you can't just say, "Well, I hope that, they have, some plugins somewhere."
Yeah.
No, you
You have to plan your travel out.
yeah,
Yep.
and I'm not gonna do that. I would much rather just drive my truck and go
Yeah. I'm
from there.
totally against EVs. It's
Well, not
totally pointless.
and not just that, so if you get into a wreck or whatever, those those batteries,
Oh
they
yeah.
cost well, not only is it a lot to replace, but as far as recycling them,
And
you can't.
environmentally unfriendly. Like if they
Yeah.
catch fire, they're gonna burn until they don't have no more energy left to.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not. So here's my thing on EVs. Here's my and take it. You're an engineer, so you take it for what you want. I'm an engineer too. You're electrical, I'm mechanical, but what and we can discuss this. How it actually is. Okay, so if I take my car, you can buy a $30,000 Tesla. You can also buy a $30,000 Corolla.
Mhm.
One's gas, one's fully electric. Okay, I'm gonna pay $20 to $30 to fill up my gas tank. You're gonna pay $40 to $50 to energize your car. So you're paying more. You're paying more money to fill up your car to get the same. And let's just assume that both cars get 400 miles to the tank full. Okay. So environmentally friendly to charge that Tesla, you're still using coal or gas to charge it.
Yeah.
What do you think? There's like a bunch of little people winding up a coil so you can get some charge on your Tesla. You're
Yep.
an idiot. You
And not
liberals are idiots. Okay, all right. No, let me fully cook. Let me fully cook. Let me fully cook. All right. So then you go, oh well, I don't actually have to go to gas stations. I just charge it in my car or at my house. Oh my gosh, it's the same thing that you have some type of coal burning, nuclear, whatever that's powering your circuit system, and you're paying more per mile for your energy, kilowatt hour, or however, BTUs, however you want to calculate it. You're paying more for your electric car. Okay, here's the solution. The only way to make an electric car, in my mind, even close to economical is to have a secondary solar panel or panels on your solar panel system. Let's call it a solar panel system on your house, and you only charge your electrical car off of the solar side of your solar powered panels.
yep.
It doesn't ever come from the grid. You don't pull from the grid and then pay it back. It is only solar because every time you transfer that energy from one type to the next, you lose some. The efficiency is only going to be like 30 to 60% depending on, and that's the two extremes. That's 30 to 60% on efficiency on energy transfer from one to the other. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's totally, EVs are still totally pointless. Totally pointless. You're wasting your money, and I'll leave it with that.
And not just that, I'm kinda bringing this so I for those that don't know about me, I love watches, and I probably have about 20 watches or so, but the main watch that I wear, um, is either my G-Shock to work or a dress watch, and then my Apple Watch, which is, what I'm
Oh
wearing
yeah, I
now.
guess you can't wear your Apple Watch at work, can you?
Yeah, no, can't wear my Apple Watch at work, and so I love my Apple Watch. I've had it for about 2 to 3 years now. Typically, I would upgrade every year, but then I got married, and so that kind of went out the door. Can't
Mm.
have nice things anymore. But I have a coworker who also loves watches more than me, but he loves the like World War II like small watches, and he has like all these like straps for them. But he he's very passionate about his watches, and so we were talking the other day, and the subject of smartwatches came up, and he's like, "Man, I can't do that because I want a watch that one day I can pass down to like my son or my grandson,
Yep.
or just it hold value and have longevity."
Yep.
And he said, "Plus, I have a phone. I don't really need notifications or anything, and I don't wanna have to be constantly looking down at my wrist." And I was like, "Dude, I get it." And it made me think of, the electric cars because let's say in 20 years, my Tacoma has 200 plus thousand miles on it. The value of that truck is still gonna be astronomical
Yeah.
because, like, you look now if you look now at a 2005, Ford F-150 or a 2005 Chevy
Oh yeah.
Silverado
10 grand.
in good condition,
Yeah. 10 grand.
easily 10
Yep.
grand, and it would
Yep.
have 200,000 plus
Yep.
miles on it. You look 20 years from now at a Tesla Model X or whatever.
Yeah. They're going to be asking when was the battery exchanged and
Yeah,
all
when
this.
was the
Yeah.
battery exchanged?
Yep.
It's gonna have it's not gonna hold up as well as a car will, and
Yep.
so I guess electric and technology is nice, but I for longevity,
Yep.
it's not gonna hold up over time because
Yeah.
things are just going to improve so much
Yeah,
that
I would assume that little man would eventually drive the Tacoma or the Highlander, and you would get a new truck in 20 years.
Speaking of, so the other day, my son's birthday is coming up and he's turning 2, and we wanted to get him one of those, like, vehicles that he can, like, ride around in the yard in,
Yeah.
and so we got him one online that was a white Tacoma, kinda
Hmm.
like mine, and so now he's got a little truck that matches mine. He hasn't learned to steer it yet, but it's also remote control too, so we can control it if we want. But, yeah, we've had a blast with that thing this week, but, yeah, I feel like we're always spending money.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Speaking of money,
Yeah,
we are
speaking of
going to
money.
talk real quick about the stock market, and this is
Yeah.
going to be where Frost kinda takes over because I don't really know all that much about the stock market,
Yeah.
nor do I have the time or money to invest in it,
Yeah.
but
So
maybe that'll
so
change one day.
so let me preface what I'm about to say with I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. You should do your own research. That whole spiel. Okay. So a lot of people I've seen online that are like, "Oh my god, my 401k." Are you about to retire?
Yeah.
Has your 401k dropped 10% and are you about to retire? Okay, shut up and sit down. I'm tired of hearing that crap. Tired of hearing it. You're not selling right now, so shut up and sit down. You're going to hold on to whatever that is for at least another 10 years, and the stock market's going to go up. So just shut up and sit down. So one of the reasons why the Caldwell Show hasn't made a second episode is because I've actually been very active and very busy getting. I'm not going to do the same thing that I did in Alabama. I'm going to actually get involved with Florida politics and the way I want to really ingrain myself in Florida culture. Okay, let's preface with that. So I was at the Republican Roundtable. Tho Bishop, if you're seeing this, man, big shout out to you. Make sure if you're a Florida resident, you got to go follow Tho Bishop. So there was a lady here who's like, oh, I don't agree with Trump's tariffs. So my 401k, she's not retiring in 10 years. Lady, shut up and sit down. Okay. Do not worry about the stock market. The only thing you should do with your 401k is keep adding to it. Check it every 6 months to make sure your money hasn't been stolen. Okay. And leave it. You're not about to retire, so shut up and sit down. And I have money in the stock market. I've lost a lot of money in the stock market. It will be okay. You're not retiring in the next 10 years. You're just keep on keeping on. Did you sell at the bottom of COVID? If you did, I bet you feel real stupid now. if you're let's say you're a 50 or 60-year-old person now and you are about to retire in the next 5 or 10 years or so, did you sell at the when the stock market crashed in '08? Did you sell when what was it, the 2000 tech boom, whatever the heck that was? Okay, so no, you didn't. So why would you do it now? If you're about to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, my suggestion to you would be, one, go talk to a financial advisor because they're going to tell you the same thing. Shut up and sit down. They'll do what you say, but they're going to probably advise you against it. Okay? Do not sell. Okay? You're going to hold. You're going to wait for it to go back up. If you are going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, when it goes back up, you start moving things out of high risk into low risk, and you just slowly over time, as the market goes up, you move things over into the low risk. Okay? It goes down, you hold. It goes up, and you start moving things over into the low risk. That's how you accumulate money at the end of your retirement. Okay? I had a very long discussion with Mark on Twitter. This was not in a tweet or anything like that. It was in our Bearded Fellowship chat.
Yeah,
And Mark,
I had to mute that because I was at work and I went
yeah,
out to check my phone and I just see like all these messages
yeah,
and it was like draining my batteries
yeah.
and I was like, oh, I guess I forgot to put it on airplane mode while
So
I was at work.
I will also say that I'm not always going to be right about these things. But the one thing's for sure, this unless we're about to hit Revelations in the Bible, if you go read your Bible, unless we're about to hit that, the stock market will continue, the economy will continue. There's always going to be recessions. Hopefully we don't have a depression. Okay, but the stock market will continue to go up, and it will be okay. In the long run, everything will wash out. It will be fine, unless you're holding individual stocks, which you're probably not if you're in your 401k. So my suggestion to you is to just leave it alone. Okay? If you sell now when the stock market's down 2,000, 3,000 points and you're down 5 or 10%. So my question to you is, if you're thinking about selling to get out of the stock market, which I would not suggest unless you were like retiring tomorrow. And if that's the case, then you probably have already made your money and you're fine anyway. Um, my point here. Boom, ADHD, baby. So, if you sell at the bottom, and then Trump decides he's going to, flip the switch on the tariffs, or I think there's a couple of like little, black swan events that are probably going to happen to make the market just be a little more volatile or whatever. Like the Russia-Ukraine conflict. If Russia decides, no, we're not going to, no more ceasefire on, energy deposits, and then or they start using nukes. That's going to be a black swan event, and then in that case, I'm sorry, I just told you wrong. Stock market's probably going to just dump. But if it flips the other way, and then the conflict ends, and there's a split of whatever, and that conflict's over, the stock market's going to go up. All right, same thing with the Gaza-Israel thing. I know like some of like the tariff wars or trade wars that we have going on because Donald Trump's trying to get a better deal with countries. The second that those end, stock market's going to go up. As soon as Fed Powell, I know he said that, we're not going to go down on interest rates for the rest of the year, all that crap. Well, screw that guy. He needs to take some Paxil or whatever and some antidepressants and quit doing that. They need to take him off the screen. They just go do your job. Just shut up. Just quit talking. You make the stock market go down. It doesn't matter who's in office. The stock market always goes down when this guy talks. Okay. So keep your money where it is, unless you've already taken it out. In that case, you've already kind of bought yourself in. It will take one decision potentially, and we're going right back up. So if you sell at the bottom, you're losing out. As long as you can hold for the next 5 to 10 years, you're fine. And that's the same advice that I would have given at the beginning of the Biden administration when it was a little flip-floppy. That's the same exact thing I would tell everybody. What was it, last July when the stock market dumped 20% or something like that? It just dumped and dumped and dumped and dumped for like a whole month. This is the same thing. It doesn't matter if you would have sold then, and I'm pretty sure we're either at the same point. If you would have sold then and bought in when it was going up again, and then sold again now, you're literally just giving BlackRock and Vanguard all your money. You're giving money away. So unless you're about to retire, leave your money where it is what I'm telling you to do. You're probably not in individual stocks. And if you are, you're probably day trading or trading, and you're not going to listen to my spiel here. All right. So that's the stock market. I know Mark is he's like, oh, we're about to head for a depression and a recession and fear. I'm totally immune to that. After
Well, shoot, we could do an entire show just on that.
Yeah, we could.
And I'll just sit here and,
yeah,
be silent and let you guys have at it.
Yeah.
But yeah. But with that,
Sorry,
I think
can't do that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Why not, Siri?
But with that, I think that is where we were going to end it today. I did not anticipate us talking for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be about half that.
Yeah. But anyways, we will see you guys next time. And hopefully next time Mark will be back with us.
Maybe I'll wear my hat again next time to troll him. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you could be serious, ask me to call emergencies.
No. Oh my God.
I wasn't even pressing the button.
You're gonna get swatted. You're gonna swat
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. I'll go
All right,
viral.
guys.
All right. See y'all.